What's up, nerds? My name's Paul. Today's episode is going to be a very special episode because I'm going to do something I've never done before. A friend of mine, Jesse, suggested I show you guys how to make an old fashioned. So I thought it'd be really fun if I made every kind of old fashioned that I know, because there are a lot of variations to the old fashioned recipe, and I'm going to make and drink every single one. And this may kill me, but also life is a nightmare, so let's just get on with it. So to make this guy, every kind of alcohol you're gonna need, essentially. Let me go through the different kinds of old fashions there are. There's the regular old fashioned, which has whiskey. There's the Canadian old fashioned that uses Canadian rye. There is the vodka old fashioned that uses vodka. Tequila old fashioned, gin old fashioned, and the rum old fashioned. Yeah. The old fashioned is essentially the first kind of cocktail that came out of the Prohibition era. Now, while there were cocktails before Prohibition, they really weren't very popular. People mostly, if you drank gin, you just kind of drank gin straight, which is pretty great. For the most part, all the modern cocktails that we have today are a reaction to Prohibition. After Prohibition happened, all the really great alcohols, they just went out of business. But there was a lot of people making, people making bathtub gins, bootleg whiskeys, and like really low class hard alcohols. So essentially you had to put them into cocktails to cut them so that they would be drinkable. That's where the old fashioned comes from. That's why you can, make all these things old fashions, because the old fashioned is a really great cover up of really shitty alcohol. It's good with pretty good with mid shelf stuff, but don't ever make an old fashioned out of any good liquors, because that's just a waste of the good liquor, which is my advice for doing any of these. So yeah, let's get started. So for a regular old fashioned, you're gonna need a cup first. So this is a old fashioned glass, which is named after the old fashioned. So it's gonna be a stout glass like this. This is actually a Drambuie glass that you get if you buy a gift set of Drambuie. I have like 13 of these because my dad likes Drambuie and I inherited all of his glasses. He's not dead. He just gave them to me. He didn't want them. So yeah, let's start it off with half a teaspoon of sugar, 2 dashes of bitters. This is 1 or 2. I usually do 2. A teaspoon of water. And then essentially what you want to do is usually I just go like this. I used to be really big into old fashions. When I was big into old fashions, I actually preferred vodka old fashions just because they're like really smooth and good. But usually the way that you kind of like muddle it and try to mix it up. But usually what I do is I put the sugar and the bitters and the water in there, and then I just keep swirling it around until the sugar dissolves. Which is actually a way better way to do it, because you probably can't see that, but it's almost completely dissolved because I just keep swirling it around instead of like trying to get a mechanical element in there. That's pretty great. And then 1.5 to 2 ounces of blended whiskey. This is an older recipe, so it says blended whiskey because back in the day, blended whiskey was cheap. Now, somehow, they've convinced you that blended whiskey is expensive. It's not. Blended whiskey is kind of garbage. It's not garbage, but it's blended. It's blended. What they do is they take a really old, really great scotch, and then they mix it with younger scotches that aren't as good to make like an okay scotch. It's the chicken nugget of whiskeys. There's white meat in there, but there's also a lot of other stuff in there too. So it all kind of balances out. I'm using a bourbon just because I like bourbon, and I like this bourbon. It still looks the same, but it's gonna taste different for me. But just use whatever mid-shelf whiskey you want to use, you can use it. There's that level. There's like JB, Cuddy Sark, Jameson. Any one of those would work. So that's we'll do 2 ounces. Me and Jesse have known each other a little while. She came to my birthday. Thanks for coming to my birthday, Jesse. I remember when she came over. As soon as she made it through the front door, she was like, "Oh no!" Like I could see on her face, like, "Oh no, maybe I shouldn't have come to his birthday." And then I immediately was like, "Oh no, maybe she thinks that she shouldn't have come to my birthday. She should totally come." Jesse's great. Hold on, let me add ice to this. Because I think at the time, like when she showed up, I don't know if there was anyone else that she knows that also showed up to my birthday. I think a lot of the people that she knew ended up coming a little bit later. But no, it's fun. It's fun having her. I think she had a good time. Right, Jesse? You probably had a good time. Who cares? Nobody listened to this. This is a conversation between me and Jesse. And I'm using this bar spoon to just, mix up all the ingredients. A little inside baseball of me making this show is that I make all the drinks one time for the cameras, and then I make it one time for you, and that's the second time. And usually when I make it for the cameras, I'm also drinking them. So that's how I get drunk for doing this. While I was drinking all these, I used up all the lemon peels. So you should put a lemon twist in this, but I didn't. So like in the cut, it's gonna show me twisting a lemon and dropping it in. So just imagine that I did that. But it's also going to show you what I'm about to do, which I almost forgot, which is putting in a Luxardo cherry, which are great. These are my favorite thing. My friend Reed also likes old fashions, and maybe I should have had them come down. You know, I'm probably not gonna have guests on the show. But anyway, Reed demanded Luxardo cherries, which is in perfect demand because these are the best. Like, if you ever get a good cocktail, it's probably a Luxardo cherry because they melt in your mouth and they're just delicious. That being said, a jar of them is like 20 bucks. I don't know, maybe I'm just cheap, but $20 for a jar this big, it's just a hair too expensive. If it was 15, I'd be totally fine. Or maybe it's not. I mean, you actually get a lot of cherries. Maybe I'm just being cheap. You know, a jar of equal or bigger size of maraschino cherries, it would be like maybe $6. But I've kind of gone off of the, you know, those regular maraschino cherries just because they're like kind of waxy and sweet, and kind of get enough of them at a certain point, and they kind of ruin the drink. You know, I want more realism in the drinks that I drink. So that's gonna sit at the bottom there. I'm just gonna soak up all the whiskey, and they're gonna eat it, and it's gonna be delicious. You know, I went through a period of time where because I was really big into old fashions, I would order an old fashioned wherever I went, and because I wanted to see like what bar had the best old fashioned in Los Angeles, and the bar that has it is the bar inside of Cantor's. Cantor's had the best old fashioned that I've ever had. They don't offer it anymore. I think they had they got some sort of like, you know, sponsorship deal with Jack Daniels, so they changed up their old fashioned. But at the time, like before that happened, they had the best old fashioned. It just was perfectly made and delicious. Like, kind of had this like cinnamon spiciness to it, which is probably from like the brand of bitters that they were using. I don't know what they were doing, but it was like perfect. Also the glass, it was full ice. It wasn't like this where like the ice was on the top. So it was like full of ice, but it was like a full glass. So I don't know how much old fashioned I was getting, but it was delicious and it seemed like a lot. Yeah, so that's the classic kind of old fashioned. Let's see what we're going with next. We're going with the Canadian old fashioned. So let's do that one. That one's a little different. Let me get another glass. All right, Canadian old fashioned. Gonna take some Canadian whiskey. So that's 1.5 ounces of Canadian whiskey. And with this one, you're just gonna kind of dump all the ingredients in and then mix it up. This one's a little bit different. 2 dashes of bitters. Half a teaspoon of curacao. Let me go get the curacao. Or curacao, who knows. I did a little bit of research on this because there's blue curacao and there's orange curacao. And the difference is food coloring. It tastes exactly the same, just food coloring. So I picked orange curacao so that the Canadian didn't look stupid. No, I don't think anyone wants to drink a blue old fashioned. I think the blue is good for like tropical drinks, but I think I just picked orange just to keep with the amber color of everything else. So that's gonna be a 1/2 ounce of that. No, it's a teaspoon, 1/2 ounce. You almost tricked me. I got a flashback to, right, yeah, 1/2 teaspoon. I got a flashback to, God, there's that episode of Futurama where, like, the brains, like, come to invade Earth, and so Fry, like, jumps into a different book, and, like, one of the big brains just, like, he jumps into Tom Sawyer, and one of the big brains goes, "Tom Sawyer, you tricked me. Whitewashing this fence was not as fun as advertised." That was a good show. Futurama had a bunch of great bits. You know, they have the Willy Wonka knockoff, but it's, like, the Slurm lab. I think at one point, like, they ask a whole bunch of questions and they go like, "All right, no more questions." And then Fry raises his hand, like, "Why?" Yeah, that show was great. And then 1/2 teaspoon of lemon juice. Futurama is also great because, you know, it has that Simpsons background where it can, like, really cut you deep to the heart. You know, usually you go with that episode of Fry's Hands Are the Devil's Plaything. Fry sings that, you know, makes that music for Leela, and that one ends in a really heartfelt way. Or the one with the dog where he, like, finds his old dog and he loves the dog, and then he realizes that the dog, right before he brings the dog back to life, he realizes that it, you know, lived this whole life without him and probably wouldn't have remembered him, so he just, like, leaves it, and then it cuts back and you realize the dog, like, pulled like a Hachigo and just waited for him to come home every day until it finally died. And it was so close. I'm about to cry. I'm about to cry because it was like so close to, like, being reunited with Fry, and it just shit. Anyway, good thing I got drinks. But Alan pointed out another. I don't know why I keep going into this sadness bit. Oh, and then you also put a lemon peel and an orange peel on this one. But again, I'm out of peels because I used them all for all the other drinks. We had a bunch of drinks. Wait, let me put ice in it first. Yeah, with old fashions, usually you put the ice in right after you've mixed the sugar into the, the bitters. Just because as you cool the temperature, it's more difficult for the sugar to be absorbed and to dissolve. So usually do it that way. With this Canadian one, you could have completely done this over ice. This card just didn't tell me to do that. I wrote it earlier based off of my research. But yeah, there's that episode. There's that movie, Bender's Big Score, where like Bender keeps going back in time, and in that one, like Fry and Leela, like Fry's trying to make it work with Leela, but Leela falls in love with this guy Lars, and like Lars is just better than Fry, and Leela just loves him in a way that she can't love Fry, and no matter how hard Fry tries, I think at a certain point he just like goes back in time because he just kind of can't handle, like he was a time duplicate. It's a very complicated storyline, but at a certain point, version of Fry goes back in time to kind of live out the rest of his life because he realizes he can't be with Leela. Bender goes back in time to try to kill him and thinks that he does, and like sets his apartment on fire, and like Lars is like bald and has a beard, and like Fry like kind of gone wandering and like grown a beard as well, and so like he shoots him, and like the fire catches, and then he goes like, my hair, and goes bald, and then like he breathes in a whole bunch of smoke. He's like, my larynx, and he looks in the mirror and he realizes that he's Lars, that like he gets to be Lars, and that he gets to be the person that not only loves Leela but that Leela loves in return. He gets so excited that he gets to like go back and like be that person and enjoy that version of his life, and it's so beautiful. Because a lot of times as a guy you don't get that. So yeah, this is a Canadian Old Fashioned. This is actually pretty good. The lemon juice really kind of makes it pop in a different way. I would say it feels a little bit more tropical than this one. This one uses sweetness to cover over the bite of the alcohol. Uses that, that bit of lemon juice and then the sugar and the bitters to kind of create a different kind of a coverer that complements the Canadian in a really nice way. Let's move on to the Vodka Old Fashioned, which is my kind of personal favorite. Vodka Old Fashioned, yes, exactly identical to the regular Old Fashioned. You just use vodka. But I'm going to walk you through it anyway, because what else are we doing? We're hanging out. You like me, right? All right, let me get another glass. God, I don't know how long this episode's going to be. Well, Reed also wanted to do this, so maybe we'll talk about Reed a little bit while I make you guys this drink. So we need half a teaspoon of sugar. I'm kind of bummed because Reed they're celebrating a party to get their boobies off. That's the way they put it. That's the way I'm gonna put it. Which I'm really proud of them. One of my core beliefs is that the two biggest jobs you have in like being a human being are knowing who you are and being that person. And Reed's on their way to being the person that they are. And so I'm really proud that because going through a transition is exceedingly difficult. Technically it's exceedingly difficult. I'm not even thinking about like the societal and emotional journey that is. So I'm really proud of them. And also, like, Reed's super funny, and we used to hang out a lot. We don't hang out as much as we used to, but like we should totally hang out more, Reed. Yeah, Reed and I used to go to comedy shows together. That used to be my bet, is that I became friends with Reed so that I could go to comedy shows not by myself and look like a loser. And Reed does the Sorting Hat podcast with Michael Barrity, which I did last week's episode about. Oh, hey, look, all dissolved. And then we're gonna add the ice, like people. And then this is, got rubbed away, but I wrote vodka on here because like I finally got the chalk. Where's the chalk? Yeah, chalk. Hold on, I'm gonna do it real quick. I absolutely do not have time for this. But it said vodka, it looked real cool. But yeah, chalkboard paint. Hold on, I forgot my thing. Yeah! Okay, so yeah, it's 2 ounces of vodka. Yeah, for a lifetime of servicing and protecting art, I got a crown of laurels. And I look pretty great in it. So I'm gonna probably do a lot of episodes in this thing because I earned it and I look really great in it. With Old Fashions, with fruit-wise, I tend to omit the fruit just because you don't really get any of that flavor and it's kind of a nuisance. The most I will do is a Luxardo cherry or like a lemon twist in it just because the oils from the lemon skin are actually pretty good. But like usually you'll see people just put like an orange slice in there. It kind of turns into a fruit salad. It's kind of nonsense. Yeah, I like it. It's like, because the sweetness kind of complements the kick, so it's like a candy, I don't know, it tastes kind of more like candy, like a weird candy. Let's see what else we got. The Tequila Old Fashioned. This one's kind of weird, but like kind of good. How much booze I have. Hold on, let's really start drinking. I got my test results back from the doctor, because like every year I go to the doctor, and every year I freak my doctor out with how much I drink. I really blow her mind. And she always orders a blood test to make sure that I'm not dying, and then every year it comes back with me having perfect health. Like my liver function, couldn't be functioning better, you know? I give my liver something to do. Don't drink like I do. I'm a god, clearly. So, do what I say, not as I do. Alright, what the fuck was I doing? Oh, wait. Yeah, glass. Okay, Tequila Old Fashioned. 2 dashes of bitters. Pretty sure I forgot to write sugar in here. So we're gonna do 1/2 ounce of sugar, or 1/2 teaspoon sugar. 2 dashes of bitters. And 1 teaspoon of water. But yeah, Reed's great, Jesse's great, Michael Barrett's great, Eli Whitney committed the cotton gin. That's not that great. You wanna know why? Because what's his name and why can't I? Was it Tom? I've read a lot of novels recently. So I don't remember the black guy in To Kill a Mockingbird that got his hand caught in a cotton gin. He got his hand caught in a cotton gin, and then some lady's like, hey, you wanna bust up this old chifforobe? And then nearly rapes him, and then he gets killed? Fuck that. Like, he was a victim of a fucking sexual assault. Let's talk about that. Fuck that book. Also, alright, we're gonna go into why To Kill a Mockingbird is not that great of a book. Because clearly, like the only good piece of writing in that book are the courtroom scenes. I haven't read Ghost Head of Watchmen, but I've heard that that's the original edit for To Kill a Mockingbird, or at least closer to what the original edit was. But it was clear that the courtroom scene was already printed, and then I think because Harper Lee's a woman, not to blow your mind. Harper Lee's a woman. I was gonna say Charles de Gaulle was black. Guy who wrote the Three Musketeers was black. Not Mark Duplass. Mark Duplass is black. Alexander Dumas. Alexander Dumas was black. I really hope Sober Paul keeps that bit in because that's really funny to me. Oh, bitch. But yeah, really clear. Courtroom theme seemed solid, but maybe your editor tried to get this story like the father-daughter thing happening. So, 1.5 ounces of tequila. But yeah, so the most compelling part of that book is the you know, I had a bad experience with tequila once. So every time I smell it, the back of my teeth get all sharp, and it's just like I have this sense memory of that bad time I had with tequila. But that one's developed, and then before and after. I mean, after that scene is still pretty good, and leading up to that scene is pretty good. But the first couple of acts of that book are just complete garbage. Like, time is established in a really poor way. Like established and passes in an exceedingly poor way, where you're given a lot of information that doesn't really come back and isn't useful and is stupid. You know, I understand. Like, I know what that book's about, and maybe people in the 60s were dumber than me, but they weren't all that much dumber than me. I think she was really patronizing her audience and not being able to. I have no idea. Okay, I'm gonna get real with you guys. I have no idea which one of these gin and tonics I was making. I mean, these old fashions I was making. Hold on. Okay, this one was the vodka one, I think. No, this is the vodka one. What the fuck was this one? No, this was a Canadian Old Fashioned. This one has to be tequila because it's not all that mixed well. Then we use ice club soda, which usually you'd say that club soda, you don't put club soda in an old fashioned, but this is from my research from the 60s, so you put a club soda in this one. I'm gonna go with it because I've already tried it and it's actually pretty good. So you just put a splash of it in there just to liven it up, and then you put a cocktail pineapple stick in there, which if you've ever tried to buy a cocktail pineapple stick before, there's no such thing as a cocktail pineapple stick. Okay. We're not gonna say spick. I just said spick. God damn it. Don't say spick. A cocktail pineapple stick, because those don't exist anymore. So you can buy pineapple spears, but my grocery store didn't have them. So I just bought a big chunk of pineapple and I've been shaving off pieces. So let me shave off a piece of this pineapple so that I can spear it in there. Hold on. Ah, God damn it. No. Pineapple. Yeah. Pretty great. This actually might be my new favorite because tequila has a pretty unique taste to it that I really like. You know, the most interesting thing about hard alcohols is that hard alcohols are a reflection of the superpowers. You know, Vodka's from Russia. Whiskey is both England and Scotland, and the United States as well. You know, the United States, descendant of the British Empire, made bourbon, you know, Kentucky bourbon. And then gin, which was also big in England as well. You know, whiskey and gin. Tequila also comes from the Americas. Rum, which I don't have with me right now, but rum also comes from the Americas. South America, that was big, a part of the triangle trade. You know, sugar, slaves, and rum. Because those things are equal. But yeah, that's the most interesting thing about the major alcohol categories are defined by what the superpowers are. That Russia became a superpower and vodka became predominant. You know, England was a superpower, and so both gin and whiskey became standard. And whiskey's great. I mean, whiskey's really great. Maybe the best of the hard liquors. Let's be honest. And American whiskey is good, and bourbon's really good. Yeah, Tequila Old Fashioned. Try it out. It's pretty good. Yeah, like it'll get you through a night just like sipping at it. Let's see what we got next. Gin Old Fashioned. Gin Old Fashioned is a little more pared down because you don't want to cover up the beauty of for the rest of these, you're trying to cover up the bite. With the Gin Old Fashioned, you want to cover up the bite, but you don't want to mute the flavors of the gin. Gin is unique in that it's like gin and vodka are essentially the same thing. They're both neutral spirits. With gin, you add, like, vodka is just a pure neutral spirit. Gin, you're taking a neutral spirit and then you put botanicals in it to like liven up the flavor. When you're making this one, you don't want to cover up the botanicals and that you're getting the flavor from. So let's do this one. So instead of using a half a teaspoon of sugar, what you're going to use is you're going to do a fourth of a teaspoon of sugar. God, I'm going to figure out what it's like to be hungover from all the major hard alcohol types at once. That's going to be fun. I don't have a 1/4 teaspoon, so I have a 1/8. I'm going to just do that twice. 1, 2, we're going to do 2 dashes of bitters, because it doesn't say to put any water in it. Well, I probably could have done one and then just added some water, because it says that I could if it wasn't dissolving, which even with this 2, it's not dissolving that well. So I'm gonna add a little bit of water to it. Went to the Museum of Ice Cream today. It was fun. It wasn't, I thought it might be like kind of lame because it's like one of those hipster things to do, but it was actually like a really cool, fun time. I'm kind of an asshole for underestimating it. You know, it was a little shorter than I wanted it to be. We also kind of like went through it. Like, we didn't know how long it was gonna be, so I guess you could spend an hour there, and yeah, we kind of blew through it. Like, in some ways we kind of blew through it. If you're able to go to the ice cream museum, totally go to it, because like you get free ice cream, and also there's like fun like pictures you can take, and I got to like jump into a pool. I didn't jump into the pool, but like I got to get into a pool of sprinkles they're plastic sprinkles, but they're still sprinkles, and they're fun. Yeah, like it was good. I had a fun time. Hey, it's all dissolved. Okay, gin. So 1 3/4 gin, which I can't do. So we're gonna do 1.5 gin. Yeah, we'll do 1.5 ounces of gin. You do 1 3/4 gin. I lost my jigger. That like was like super precise, which I'm kind of bummed about, because I've had it the entire, like, I've had it for a long time, and I've almost lost it a bunch of times, but didn't, and like now I finally did, so that's kind of a bummer. Yeah, I keep going back to the tequila one because it's pretty good. I'm using a Canadian shot glass to measure, and I'm trusting that the measurements are correct, because it says Canada, and then it says it's like a medical one, so it's 1 shot every 15 minutes till no pain is felt, and then it said, you know, and then it has measurements on the side, which I have to imagine are accurate, and if they're not, seem pretty accurate to me. Put some ice in here, mix it up. We would put a lemon peel in there if I had a lemon peel, and then this one's good too. I made that base because of the bite, but it'll still taste great. Last one, Rum Old Fashioned. Where'd I put the rum? Where's the rum gone? Rum. All right. What? This is really happening. Who's in the bunker? Who's in the bunker? Women and children first. And children first. And children. Another glass. Last one. It's the craziest thing I ever did. Half a teaspoon of sugar. 2 dashes of bitters. I got hungry. It's pretty good. Teaspoon of water. Shake them up. Look at that. I got this thing. It's really nice. You know, most of the time, you know, yeah, I didn't do the stuff that I did to get a reward, but it's really nice to have the reward. I look good in it too. So with this guy, you can use light rum, golden rum, or dark Jamaican rum. I'm gonna use light rum because you can clearly see it's light rum. 2 ounces of light rum. Oh shit. 1, 2. I don't know if I put ice in this, so I'm gonna put some ice in it. Ice. And then, hold on. Normally we twist and put the lemon peel in there. And then also, what you're gonna need is 151 proof rum. This guy right here, and yeah, it's great. 151 proof rum. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna do it's a teaspoon of 151 proof rum. floated at the top, so that's just essentially you going like this, and ploosh, 151 proof rum. It's pretty good. Yeah, so that's every kind of old fashioned that I know. Like I said before, probably, this guy happened because Jesse was like, hey, and one of the Insta things to make this happen, and it happened. So yeah, you can either comment comment down here in the comments. You can hit me up on the Minimalist Mixer Twitter, and there's a Minimalist Mixer Instagram. Hit me up on any one of those with your suggestions. I'd love to start making things that, last year was me making things that I wanted to make. I'd love to like try to tackle some things that you guys are interested in, because this show is, I can have fun doing the show either way. So I mean, I'd love to start teaching you guys the things that you want to learn. As I always say, I love you guys to death, and you guys keep on rolling. I don't know if that's a song or something, but it's like 4 a.m. and I've had a lot of alcohol to drink. I wonder where I'm gonna get breakfast. I'll just make myself breakfast. It'll be great. I'll have Spanish French toast. It'll be great. I love you guys. I'll see you later.